I did. I got upset. I got really upset. You called me a murderer. And that's when I lost my shit. I knew this episode would turn into like an actual like fight. I was like afraid of doing this so soon. Hey guys, welcome to Trust Me. I'm Alexis. And on this month's episode, John and I are discussing what to do when your partner decides to make a giant lifestyle choice without discussing it with you first. And in our situation, it happens to be John who decided to go vegan. He happens to be the chef of the house because he cooks dinners while I'm working, and he's the one that goes to the groceries. So his decision has affected our whole family. And although I'm very excited about it and I'm on board, I was pretty perturbed by the way that he came to this decision and didn't discuss it with me. So we talk about that in this episode. So enjoy the show. Hey, John.
Hi, Bunny.
Oh, Bunny.
I have to poop.
That's disgusting.
I know, it's happened a lot lately.
Oh my God. Did you think about starting our episode saying that? Was that something you'd planned?
Not until 2 seconds ago.
That's such a lie.
That's true.
Well, okay, perfect, because great segue here. Oh, John also doesn't have pants on.
Oh, I'll have to cut the other camera.
Jeez, dude.
It's so hot in here.
God.
We do things differently. You like stagnant, hot desert air.
And you like surprising me with giant life changes without discussing them with me first, which is why we decided to talk about the fact that John decided to go vegan pretty much overnight and has been so for the past 2 weeks.
It's been almost 3 weeks now.
What? In your mind, you've always been a vegan.
In my heart.
In your heart.
Yeah.
So annoying. Yeah, so we wanted to talk and take this opportunity to discuss something that is actually going on like right now in our relationship. Most of the time, we enjoy discussing situations that arise in our monogamous relationship after we've kind of worked through them, like challenges.
Have we not worked through this?
Surprise, no. We have. This is a challenge that we're kind of like currently working through, and it's not like a serious challenge. John didn't decide that Derek Chauvin shouldn't be convicted and that Donald Trump is 2024
is the best hope we have.
I mean, that would be a lifestyle change that to certain things like that, I feel like would be really hard for me to like stay with you. But I love you unconditionally. But there are certain things.
Is that why the first night when you were just slightly irritated with me, you said, I'm going to go Christian now?
So we're kind of working through this now. And I'm not against veganism. In fact, I've been plant-based as well. And I'm really, truly super excited about this choice. I've always wanted a partner that's taken wellness more seriously than I have. And like, you know, I enjoy being with someone who respects ethics and has integrity. And like, I love all of that about you. So I'm truly, really excited about this decision. It was just such a quick one. It seemed to me like it was made overnight.
Yeah. And
I felt like it was this giant lifestyle change that you kind of just made without discussing with me. Your housemate and your life partner.
Yeah. Do you know the moment?
And the stepmother of your son.
Right. Do you know the matriarch of our dynasty? Yeah. Do you know the moment?
Dynasty.
Do you know the moment that I decided? Or where it like kind of sealed it in for me?
Is this going to be like one of those documentaries where you're watching it and you don't really know what it's about until the end? They trick you and it's a vegan documentary. No. Is this episode going to be?
No, we said it right up front. We said it right up front.
So, what moment did you decide to go vegan?
Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Because I believe you that you think it was a surprise, but to me, it seemed like we had talked about it because I know I'm going to be honest. I talk about so many crazy and wild, harebrained ideas that there's no way you would have thought when I was driving back from the hotel after having like my 17th McChicken
So seriously, the biggest meat eater of our whole family. The kids were like, "What?"
And I was
Like, I eat vegetarian all the time, and John usually orders 5 times, like 5 types of meat on his pizza.
yeah.
Which is like, this is a really great lifestyle change.
Only one animal though.
It was just surprising.
Probably 40 animals,
Ew,
but 40
I
the same kind of animal.
As a vegan, I'm offended.
As a vegan, I'm offended as well. As a vegan, I'm gassy. We were talking, and I do feel like, honestly, this decision was years in the making, and there's a part of me that was scared and was lazy about making the decision to do it. But when we were talking, and I said to you, like, when I broke down, like, what it is to be a vegan, and I was like, I believe that you can be just as healthy being a vegan as you can, like, a normal person that eats animals. And I was like, so to me, I am consciously making a decision to kill something whenever I eat. And it's a decision that I don't have to make.
Murder, I think, is the word you used.
I don't think I started using murderer until I became a full-blown vegan. So 2 hours
I think it was 24 hours, into you being a vegan. Yeah. I think I heard the word murder a handful of times, at least.
You're composing yourself very well in front of the cameras.
So are you.
I'm pantsless. I feel free.
Great, good for you.
I'm pants-free.
I don't have any underwear on.
Pants-free and guilt-free. But when I said that to you, and then the next morning I was like, okay, maybe I will do like a 30-day thing. And I knew that I had to talk to you about the 30-day thing. And I was going to talk to you. I did.
So you thought like on day 3 of the 30-day thing you might talk to me?
No, it was day 1. I talked to you about doing a 30-day challenge.
I don't recall that. Okay.
So Monday was the day that I decided that I wanted to try to do 30 days of vegan.
Like 2 Mondays ago.
Yeah. And it was like, as that idea evolved, and I started thinking about it more and more, and I was like, I think I should honestly, instead of doing a challenge, just do it. And then
that Monday is when you decided?
Yeah, but then even then, I still was like thinking about like, what should I eat? Should I eat these eggs? I don't care, and all this, and I still am like very excited, honestly, about all of this, especially because you seem like you're like on board now, and you believe like that I don't like, because I went more than 3 days without eating a burger. You believe me. You're like, I think you actually want to eat plants now.
Yeah, we'll get into that part of why. Yeah, but keep going.
I have like a newfound excitement for my life and all this, and I feel great and everything. But those first few days for me, like, it felt very confusing still.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like be dramatic or exaggerate the situation, but I honestly didn't know for sure. I just knew I felt bad. I wanted to make a change, and I had like, once I said out loud, I know I'm deciding to kill something unnecessarily for mouth pleasure and a bloated belly and liquid farts and diarrhea.
Not everyone experiences.
Not everyone does, but when you
combine that with beer and then like
and when you
multiple cheeseburgers and like the 5 types of meat from one animal or whatever you described on your pizza, I think that's something to do with it.
When you murder the way I did, I was basically Hitler to animals.
Oh my god, dude.
Or like like the guy that killed all the Armenians. I'm that guy to animals. Oh. Now it's like, instead of Hitler dying, he retired.
Kind of. It's a little different because that was the same species, so that was a human mass murdering and like genocide.
I view us all as one.
Of other humans.
I wonder, this is a real, before you go into the real stuff, my last tangent, I wonder if any animals will actually have their life spared because of my decision. Can I have that kind of impact?
I mean, the butterfly effect is real.
All of you are going to convert after this. Welcome to my church.
This is one of those vegan documentaries, isn't it? Damn it. I got roped in. I really...
You started dating me and your life became a vegan documentary.
Yeah, one giant surprise after another.
Hopefully we're at the beginning of the documentary still.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I hope so too. I mean, what does that imply if we're not?
If you're still listening 8 minutes in, make sure you smash the like button and God bless you.
Are you Christian now?
Salam.
Salam.
Salami, no mas.
No, stop. Oh, dear. This is so bad.
So, unfortunately for all of you at home, I am not the one leading this conversation today.
No, you are leading the conversation. This is definitely the John Kuhn show. I would like to know more about, at what point in your life did you think about going vegan?
Are you
Like
serious?
when you were a young child? Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, I tried to I became a vegetarian in high school.
Yeah.
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 I just did it badly. I didn't know. I didn't know for sure.
I did it badly too, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
John's smiling, if you can see. Maybe he'll edit his smile out. I don't know, but he is smiling because I got so much shit for trying to go plant-based when I did. And by shit, I'm going to tell you, it was just John's mouth running at me saying, "That's not vegetarian," as he ate his quarter pounder. I'm like, dude, I am trying. And that was like, so with this giant change, like I feel like it was kind of overnight.
Yeah.
We were like watching documentaries and we were kind of like toying around with the idea. I ate a piece of meat and I was like, this literally tastes like barnyard
Oh yeah, the sausage
to me
or
or whatever. And I hardly ever order that and
Yeah.
I couldn't finish it. And that was after we watched Seaspiracy.
Yeah.
Which, dude, was seriously life-changing for me.
Yeah.
And then it was like 2 days later, we hadn't really said, okay, on Monday we're going to like go vegan. Like you just woke up and then had decided. And then I figured it out when we were eating vegan Gouda mushroom sandwiches with a dairy-free tomato soup that night.
Yeah, which I
Like,
did badly.
oh.
That was the worst soup I've ever made. I'm sorry.
It was pretty bad. I guess
You said it was
we're
good.
eating vegan. And then you told me about the 30-day challenge. And then it became this whole thing. And I was like, okay, this is fine, right? And it was day 3 of this lifestyle change where you called me a murderer because I said I wasn't going to stop drinking cream in my coffee. And I didn't know if I wanted to give up eggs. And that's when I lost my shit.
I think you said, do you think you can eat animals sometimes or eat animal products sometimes? I was like, I mean, if you want to murder sometimes.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
And then I was called a murderer. And then you asked
Sarcastically.
me. You said, I knew this episode would turn into us. It turned into like an actual like fight. I was like afraid of doing this so soon.
I'm clipping that you just
But
said that and more people are going to watch it now that we said this is going to turn into an actual fight.
You said to me on your high vegan horse, you said, Alexis, I don't think I can ever take the life of a sentient being again. Can you?
I didn't say it that way. It probably sounded that way.
That's after you called me a murderer.
I honestly...
And I was so pissed at you. I don't think I have ever been so mad at you in our entire relationship. I'm not kidding you. I was so mad.
Really?
It felt like a betrayal. Yes. And this is like when I started Googling, what the fuck do you do when your partner makes a giant lifestyle change without telling you? Because that's how I do my research. Lots of things popped up and a lot about radical changes and like when to consult your partner about giant life changes and when you don't have to, which all of the ones that said when you should is when you live with the person, when you see that person in your future, when you would want them to be considered or to consider you if they were making a giant life change. I thought, check. John did not do any of these. I'm definitely all of those things to him, he says.
Yeah, you are.
But yet I wasn't consulted on this giant life change. And honestly, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm really happy like you were eating poorly. And this is amazing, truly. This is amazing. And I've come around to
so
feeling
scared of
betrayed. But dude, it was really hard. It did feel, and I was researching this. So this Psychology Today article was like, I was reading and I was like, ugh. I'm like, what fuels your negative reaction? Well, there's a sense of loss that can be accompanied with your partner making a big life change where you're not included, And the sense of loss is like the image of our relationship, like what I thought we had and what I thought was our relationship is changed suddenly. And it feels like a loss. And then also my image of you changed. And like, there's a quote in there that like, you seem like a stranger to me. And like that, it felt like that for like a day.
Yeah.
And this article, just to reference it, is how to cope when your partner makes radical changes. Sudden changes in beliefs or lifestyle can create a relationship crisis. So anyway, I kind of felt that like spoke to me. Like, you felt like a stranger to me for a second. I'm like, but he was just eating Slaughterhouse 5 at Giacomo's, the pizza with the 5 types of pig on it, while I had my eggplant pizza.
We didn't have sex that night, did we? Because I was going to ask you if it felt like you were cheating on me.
I don't remember if we had
You
sex.
definitely didn't have sex that night.
Yeah, maybe I could have turned it into a fun game. But anyway, then there's also kind of a loss of trust. Okay, where you feel like there's an unspoken contract that has been breached. Like, we agreed we were going to go to Spain and have jamon serrano together. And, you know, all of these things. And that, like, there's a certain level of our commitment, you know, where to each other and the view of our future that was kind of based loosely on the fact that we wouldn't change, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Humans always change.
Yeah.
And in a relationship, when you truly like care about someone, like, you're going to change too as an individual. Like, you have to accept the fact, especially if you end up spending years together, which that's the goal for you and I, right? To like actually make monogamy work.
Yeah.
We're going to change. It's inevitable. It's like such a silly thing. If you type in, do humans change? It's like such a kind of a cliche, or like to say people don't change. People do change though.
Yeah.
And people grow, right? And
right. Hopefully,
and this is,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you're right, Bunny. Hopefully. Yeah, because it'd be horrible if you stayed the same person, never grew, never did anything cool, or like learned new stuff, and like, yeah.
Yeah, I've stopped growing around the waistline dramatically in the last 2 weeks. It's pretty crazy.
How many more bits are you going to run by us?
Yeah, they just keep flowing. I didn't have any written out.
It's that fog-free brain that this vegan diet has given you, huh?
Yeah, I will say vegan hangovers are a lot less foggy, by the way.
I did not feel that way on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I drank cheap
You
wine
drank,
with my friends.
yeah, very quickly with your friends.
Martha poured some rosé that I knew the minute I took a sip of it.
Yeah. That's the next thing
I
to
was
go.
gonna feel icky.
Yeah.
Alcohol?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm not giving that up, but that'll be good for you.
I'm not going to put you on blast too much. I just was like sitting reflecting a lot about us because, one, I felt super guilty because I had upset you so much, and I knew you were upset, and I wanted to work through it. And I remembered I was like very extreme about like wanting to never drink again potentially, because you and I quit drinking for 30 days. And then I was like, it was as early on in our relationship too. Maybe it was the second time. But I was like really worried. I know one of the times we quit drinking for 30 days, I was really worried that you were going to go and drink without me.
Yeah.
And all that. So I was like all over that. And I was like kind of manic and all over the place. And then I think it was the first time. Nonetheless, like, it was one of these times we were in a 30-day period of not drinking. And then when we went back to drinking, I was like, I'm not going to do that. And it was like day 60 or something. And I was like losing my mind. I was like, am I a drinker or not a drinker and all this stuff. And I talked to you about it obsessively, and I'm sorry for that. But I know that I had said to you a few times, I think I may never go back. And then you kind of like it makes sense that you say betrayed, because I'm like looking back on that moment, and you're like, well, what are we going to do socially? I'm going to have to explain to people that you're just like sober now. And it's very interesting, like how change, even if it's better. Because I know I know I do this too, but it's like you might freak out.
You know what it is for me? It's that sometimes I feel like you make these big promises and like you decide to do these, you have these big ideas and then you don't follow through with them.
Yeah.
And so like there's a part of me, and that was the feeling with this vegan thing too. I'm like, he's just saying this, and this is going to be a 30-day thing.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go away and it's going to go back to how it was.
Yeah.
And so like there's a part of me that doesn't want to be like so optimistic to think that I'm so excited. I want to have a healthy, like I love working out. I love eating well. I love cooking. Like, I want to travel, you know what I mean? Like, so of course I want a partner that does all that stuff too, right? And we've found a lot of that in one another.
Yeah.
And so some of it is like, I'm afraid like that you'll say you're going to do that, and then that's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
makes
so like,
sense.
I don't want to go. It's hard for me because I'm not necessarily an extremist in my personality. I don't have an addict mind, and I've always dated addicts. So like all of my previous like partners have been extreme. Like my partner, my first boyfriend, like in high school was, very smart, but he was also a heroin junkie. And he went back and forth from being like a professor and a scientist to like dying of a heroin overdose. And he'd get sober and then he'd go back. And you know what I mean? And so it's like this extremist thing scares me.
Yeah.
So like when it's something's overnight or something so big, I feel like, oh, no, 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 no. Like that means it's going to go back the other way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
It's all about communication and trust.
Yeah.
And acceptance of the other person's, because you're allowed to change.
Yeah.
You're allowed to go back and forth.
Yeah.
It's just when it's so big, it feels rocky for me. And that partly
Yeah.
that's my codependency.
Yeah. I also think there's a mindset that can be adopted that I hear a lot about, like change. And when the ceiling collapsed, Jake, the life coach, had said to me, he's like, remember that this is happening for you, not to you. And I was in a good place, so I wasn't like irritated that he said that, but I was like, that seems quite optimistic, but I guess I get it. But he didn't know what was going to happen in our life, and a lot of good has come out of it.
Yeah, dude, I've thought about that so many times. I actually think it's a blessing, and I
Yeah.
think this house has been like this blessing working
Yeah.
for us. Like I love this home, and like I'm very grateful for everything.
Yeah.
So
So I
far.
think the quicker you can like get to that point after something bad happens where you're like, okay, how can I make this work for me instead of having it happen to me? Because then that kind of like prevents you from being in this perpetual like cycle of being a victim.
Yeah.
Because as long as you get through something and you're healthy, it's like, what the fuck? The world's your oyster or some shit like that, right?
Yeah, and when it comes to being in a relationship, when you make giant life changes or decisions, you know what I mean? Communication is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt blindsided by your decision, and that's why I got so upset. It was really that you're the cook in the house. You are the one that goes to the grocery. You feed myself and you feed the kids. And I'm like, you made this decision for everyone is what it felt like. And that just was really upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Even though it's a good decision.
Yeah.
It was like, you didn't talk. I felt like even though we had talked about it and played around with the idea and like watched these documentaries and stuff, I felt like you never sat down and looked me in the eye and said, hey, I'm serious about going vegan. Like, this doesn't mean that the kids have to eat vegan. And like, what do you think about it? Do you want to do this with me? If you don't, like, and we would work out a plan type thing.
I said all that stuff. I just
After.
After. Within hours, but it was still the order of operations was flip-flop.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy a nice conversation about this stuff. I am a thinker. I don't tend to jump into things unless it's a relationship. And like, I really am careful. I'm really careful, like in my work and like how I think I want to proceed. And, and so we're just different in that way. And honestly, we're yin and yang. I feel like we balance each other out because I would probably overthink a decision, whereas you just dive right in.
Yeah.
So we're juxtaposed. I mean, we balance each other in that regard. But that's why I got upset. I got really upset. But that's ultimately, at the end of the day, it was a great opportunity to reflect on ourselves and why I got so upset. So we're talking about the sudden change, right? And of course, that's what this whole episode's about. But like, what an opportunity this has been to like understand one another and to understand ourselves. And the other part of like me really reflecting and being curious about why I had such a visceral response to this lifestyle change is not because of veganism, because I'm down with it. I'm really excited about it. But because back to that extremist mentality, this like is deep rooted in, I'm a codependent, and we should totally have an episode where we talk about codependency. But I've learned that I'm a codependent through therapy, which I recommend to everyone. Anyone that is even curious at all about themselves and why they make the decisions they make, I think therapy is awesome for. Codependency, is basically like I put other people's feelings ahead of my own, and I put my validation within other people instead of seeking it within myself, or I did. That's not so much the case any longer. I've outgrown a lot of that and I've learned from it, but I think being a codependent throughout my life and choosing extreme partners, that extremist sort of mentality is scary to me. And we were just kind of discussing that. And I think that what goes along with that is like this, I'm really turned off by evangelical people. So people who like force feed, no pun, no vegan pun here, but force feed their way of life down other people's throats. Like, I don't want to say hate because that's such a strong word and it's probably not accurate because that's like, I don't want to think that I have that hatred in there. But I really can't stand the person who says you have to live this way. Unless that person who's being told that is like a horrible, hateful person that is like, you know, killing people or racist or something. Like if it is affecting someone else's life or they think they're superior and that superiority complex is affecting someone else's life. But to just tell someone you should be a Christian or you should whatever, be a vegan, and people that are like hateful about it, like evangelical, and think their way of life is superior, it just drives me freaking crazy. And so I was afraid that you were going to become this person, this evangelical person. And then you were going to have this high horse complex of like, I'm better than you because I don't murder, you know? And it's like, that allowed me to understand, wow, why do I really have like this is a theme. Like I don't like that evangelical type of person. I'm more of like a live and let live as long as you're allowing other people to live.
And animals.
See, like, dude. So it just allowed me to think about myself and like why I had such a visceral response. It's probably rooted in my own like codependency and like, you know.
Yeah.
So has anything come up for you with this lifestyle change, like in reflection of it and of our relationship or just yourself?
Thanks for asking me a question.
Oops.
Doopsies. I don't know if this is true. And I'm like masking this by like thinking that I have logic, and then that's the reason I decided to live this way. But you had said, are you avoiding the anxiety of everything else that's going on in our life? And I've reflected on that, and I'm not sure. Maybe. But then it's like, this is weird in the dynamic of you and I too, because you're still the breadwinner. So I'm like, I could not do any projects right now. And then like, I'm at this point in my career, maybe a couple of people would be like, where do you go? What do you do? But they would just find someone else. Like I could stop working and we wouldn't lose our ability to pay for any bills. So part of me adding things is because I need to have like a perpetual state of like
Chaos.
momentum. Yeah, chaos. Well, you said the thing about me having a bunch of big ideas, and I think that's like maybe the entrepreneur part of me where like I'm always throwing out big ideas. And honestly, I overthink stuff too.
Yeah.
Like real hard. Like I thought about the veganism or the vegetarian thing for a long time. And I had like a mindfulness of like being grateful for where animals came from. And sometimes I'd think about it and I would just ignore it. But like the Neil Gore and the marathon thing I did, like I thought about that a lot to the point it drove me crazy where I was like, okay, you have to let this go or go forward with it. And then I dive in and I make it like real. And I don't do that in the most organized way. So I'm trying to figure out how to be less of or be a little more perfectionist and less spontaneous big thing, you know? I don't know if that will change, but I know that's something.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about that a lot.
Yeah.
After this situation. There was something else that I'd figured out, or I thought that I'd figured out that I wanted to share, but I can't. If it pops up, I'll interject.
Okay.
Down the line.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. I remembered. When I said to you, and I broke down what it was to be vegan and to not eat meat, when I said to you, like, and I was just like honest with myself, I've learned that that's like the only way that I'm going to be able to make decisions in my life and have things stick. Because to me, it doesn't seem like a fad or an experiment or something. I was just like, broke it down to the most simple like form and then use like my own logic to make a decision. And it's like logic of the world and the paradigm that I live in and all that. I get that. But once I was honest with myself, and I'm like, okay, John, if you want to be better for your family and for you, you have to be more honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And I used that logic last week. It was like second beer, and I could have had a third one.
I was going to say, have you applied that to alcohol?
Not much. At times
you're like,
I
I
have.
don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. At
Yeah.
times I have, and like a week ago, and I was like talk to myself. I wasn't drunk, but I was like buzzed talking to myself. And I was like, what is this other thing? Why do you want to drink another beer? And it's like, because I would like to not think anything.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it. Like, this is just a habit. Like, I feel like I have to like consume as much as I can before the next day and all these things. And like, that's honestly stopped me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kept me from storing that night. So
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good to reflect. I mean, I think that that's helpful too in understanding just that very mindset of like, you literally were admitting like you don't want to really break down alcohol yet because you're not ready to be like, well, why am I doing it? And face the truth and use your own logic to make a decision that is logical, right?
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to. I still want to drink. And I think that's a good way to look at like other people when they make decisions for themselves. Like, you can't really judge someone and where they're at in their own life journey. Like,
You're so right.
if they haven't looked at what they're wanting to look at or is something in their life, honestly, is maybe they just don't fucking want to. And why should they have to?
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like,
I agree. What you're saying honestly keeps me from judging other people. It's
that's
like
good.
I think it sounds pretentious, and I believe it is pretentious if you really believe that like, if there's an elevation, like you're on like a Dharmatic elevator, and you're like you're a level 300 boss, and these people are like level 70 peasants. If you think that way, that's fucked up. But
I've never heard that. Is that a thing?
People talk about elevating, and they'll say those people just aren't as elevated as me. I hear people say that.
Well, like on a spiritual plane.
Yeah.
You mean like, because there is like, you know, if depending on what you believe, but like, and it's not about comparing to other humans.
Yeah.
It's all about your own personal journey
Right.
of like self-actualization.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it has actually nothing to do with anyone else.
And I understand that concept, and I think it is beautiful, and I do think that there's a certain amount of like layers that you can remove, and like you can do a certain amount of digging, and the more truthful you are with yourself, the more your awareness increases, right?
Yeah, kind of just like when you turn inside and
Yeah.
you just learn to love yourself, and all of that, everything you've ever wanted is like already inside of you.
Yeah. Here's a good example of how I view what we're talking about. I am able to forgive my dad and not harbor any ill will towards him because I know he's not been willing to address his like narcissistic tendencies and his anger and to take that like head on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big task. It's much easier to not question like, why the fuck do I flip out like all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
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 'Cause it ain't about you.
Ain't about you.
It's
You're
the only
beautiful.
line from Dr. Phil I'll ever remember. It ain't about you.
Cut, Dr. Phil.
Of joy.
Here's a news flash. This ain't about you.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's overall like this is awesome, this lifestyle change, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that if I wouldn't say that like we've mastered like how to deal with your partner when they decide to make a giant lifestyle change yet, but I do think that there are a few pointers in this article that I was referring to that, you know, they're very basic, but understanding the emotions behind the change of heart. So that's communication, right? And like just literally listening to your partner, not blaming them or accusing them, just, or, you know, just you, or whatever, trying to take that piece out and understanding like why you made the decision you made. I don't really understand why you made the decision you made without talking to me, but I definitely understand the decision you made, like ethically, and like why you decided. And like I said, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry for not talking to you.
It's okay.
The reason I didn't talk to you was because we had talked about it, and then that day, like I felt like I'd uncovered a truth, and I had to to me, what I said about the decision making, like that was so true to me, and it felt so real.
Did you think maybe you should write me a message and be like, hey, I've really thought hard about this, and I know I feed our whole family
if I thought
day.
that and I didn't send it, it's because I didn't want to stress you out at work. And I did try, and I know that like pragmatically this doesn't make sense, but that's why I did try to say to you, if you don't want to change anything about how you guys are eating, I'll still do like white rice and orange chicken sometimes from Costco.
We don't like that.
I know,
You're the
but-
one that always chose that.
I know. Well, the kids really liked it for a little bit. Everything from Costco that was like that, by the way, was a great treat. It was like a cheat thing. And then the second week, it's like, I guess Dad didn't have time to cook dinner again, and this is okay. And by the third week, it's like, you're poisoning us.
I know.
I'm sorry, kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I understand the emotion behind the change of heart.
Yeah.
The next kind of bit of advice was define new rules of engagement. And I liked this one. That can mean several things for several different people whenever there's a change in your relationship or whatever. But for us, it means like new rules of engagement, meaning like one thing you were doing for like the first week was like consistently making jokes about like people who are eating eggs or whatever being murderers. And it is so upsetting to me. And it's back to that evangelical, like, you think you're better than other people. Like, like I can't stand that.
Yeah.
And so our new rule of engagement is like, hey, no fucking jokes about being a murderer if someone decides to eat the eggs that their hens are laying.
I know I tested that boundary last night.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah,
I took a swing and I missed real hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think it's cool.
I don't honestly think it's cool either. And I'm making fun of myself. I think it's just touchy. Like, I really sincerely don't believe that. Like, I'm not going to throw paint on, like, someone's fur coat. I get why people do that.
Yeah.
And in a way, like, people being super radicalized kind of led me down the rabbit hole of listening to someone that's really articulate about veganism. But I think that's not an effective way to convert anybody.
No, it's back to that Dr. Jordan Peterson's like Psychology 101 sort of, when you've got two people on opposing sides of the same issue and one person is really trying to shove their viewpoint down the other person's throat, it's only going to allow that or make that other person really kind of just dig in to their beliefs. Like, they're just gonna they aren't going anywhere.
Yeah. It's like the more information you present someone with that has like a deep, like rooted belief, like it has an opposite effect. Like
opposite of the intended effect.
Yeah, I was hoping that I would be able to like spit out the term when I started talking, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Oops.
There's a term.
Boop.
Are we thinking of the same term maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Double down.
Double down. Yeah.
They double down on their beliefs, basically.
Yeah. There's another way to put it, but yeah, they do double down on it. Like, it's like the inverse negative reinforcement, something like that.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating and so true. And you look at how polarized, like in the U.S. and like politics and COVID and all this crap, like it's really made people like just super polarized, even on issues that aren't necessarily like political or should be polarizing. They've become as such. And I think it has something to do with just that basic kind of whatever that effect is, and people just double down on what they believe. And I think the best way, if you really want to influence, is to just be a role model.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that. Like, you just exist, and then like, right? Like,
right,
you
100%.
just exist, and like,
if
you're awesome, people see you're awesome. If you
it's very true.
Whatever, I don't know.
It's very true. It's like you can be the agent of change in your life, but you have to like be the one that enacts that. You have to like. I used to tell people, if you want to have a YouTube channel, just have a YouTube channel. If you want to do this, just do that. But no one listened to me until I started doing it and stopped talking about it. Then I noticed I was like, oh, my brother is doing what you and I are doing, and that's
cool.
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
But veganism in particular, though, like it's really.
My brother's not going to be a vegan.
It's like you can't, like, not everyone can be a vegan. It's such a privileged thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain, places all around the world where that's just like your cultural, like how you've grown up and how your ancestors grew up was just around like more plant-based, meals or whatever. But like, not everyone has access to like a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, like fresh fruits and vegetables,
Right. And
not everyone has, it's culturally like, it's not a part of like your cultural heritage or like what your family's done forever. It's like, I don't know. So it's kind of like you just do it and cool, good for you. It's your choice.
Yeah.
And that's that, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're right. Yeah, not everyone's heard that information. You're not gonna change anybody by being radical. Like everything you're saying is right. I agree with it.
I think certain things call for radicalization.
Right.
Like,
you're still not changing the person. Like if someone
but
murders
just
somebody,
like you said, if you kind of went down the rabbit hole because of some radical type things, like it got your attention. Like if we're talking about like civil rights movement or like women's rights or something, I think certain giant radical fucking actions should take place.
Yeah.
To counteract like some of the atrocities and to draw attention to them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've been learning more about the civil rights movement. It's like even though there were people in the streets and those people were necessary.
What are you talking about, like now or like in the 60s?
In the 60s.
Oh, okay.
That's very interesting that
I'm
you said that.
talking about like now.
Right. But there are people that are like talking with the suits and then they're making like calculated decisions on both sides. But having the demonstrations and being a radical for the right cause, I think wakes people up sometimes,
Yeah,
like when you have people like filling your streets in Indianapolis, like you have people that double down on their beliefs. But like me, for example, like I went and like listened and made some connections with people. And like, I'm maybe not like the target demographic because I already kind of like aligned with those people politically, but I did that and our kids know that I did that. So like that does have like the trickle down butterfly effect. And that's speaking with action instead of words. Mm-hmm. And like what you're just saying, that's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe some vegans do feel like there has to be radical things done to draw attention to the atrocities of like treatment of animal, It is really kind of weird when you start looking into how a lot of our meat, it's like however you feel about animals or whatever, like it's horrible, but then also what animals are eating and then what we're eating.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just kind of bad for everyone.
Yeah.
And
this is the part of the documentary where David Attenborough starts talking and you're
no,
like... No,
it's not David Attenborough. It's
damn.
just some vegan guy.
Yeah.
David Attenborough. No.
Do you have any more research, sweet love of mine?
I mean, ultimately accept that the change is about individualization. Like you have to look at your relationship. I mean, ideally, like you're two people. So like you're going to have your choices and I'm going to have mine and like just kind of have to like not be codependent and be like, but we're doing this together. Like you're going to be different.
Yeah.
And if you quit drinking, I'm not going to quit drinking. And if you convert to Christianity, I'm not going to convert to Christianity.
That could be a deal breaker.
Well, I'll still love you.
I love you.
But I mean, it's not like I'm not like
will always love you.
Open to. I was raised a Christian. I just don't. I guess I'm agnostic.
Yeah.
I don't really. I'm
This is
spiritual.
A subject for another another podcast.
Dogma is bullshit. It's just made up, man-made stuff.
Yeah.
I like the Sikh philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And so sad the people at FedEx, I know that was like the Sikh community was like really highly affected, negatively by losing I think 4 members of the community.
Yeah.
But that basically they kind of believe that every religion is like a pathway to one God. Mm-hmm. And like they don't believe on doing harm onto anyone, or it's just sad. So I don't know why I thought about that, but yeah. Yeah. But anyway, back to, when your partner decides to not tell you about their lifestyle change. We're working through this, and so far, so good.
Yeah.
Next month's episode is going to be vegan recipes.
Vegan recipes, black
John will
bean
be
brownies.
naked.
I'm going to take off one article of clothing with every episode after this.
Yeah,
Until-
so actually we're not really going to have an episode until August, right? Have we decided? We're moving.
That may happen. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
Yeah, we're moving, so it could potentially be that we're going to be living with my dad and then my mom for like a period of 3 months. John's going to get to know his in-laws really well.
They're going to get to know me really well.
So we'll see if we have the opportunity to like set this up and do maybe even just an audio or something about how it's going.
Yeah.
But if you don't see
Audio
us,
only would be good, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't see
Where
us,
possible. Sorry.
it's okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say if you don't see us until August, that is why.
Okay.
Life changes that have been planned and discussed and thought through and decided upon together.
The right way. All right, love you guys. Love you, Bunny.
All right, okay. Peace out.
Bye.